Hey, welcome to the video everyone. We're going to be doing some Yosenju deck tech today. Sorry for the late video, I was so sick last week. I had a absolutely massive throat infection. It's not completely gone yet, but I can finally talk a little bit today, and I felt that it's time to finally do my deck tech video today. I have two builds of the Yosenju deck for you all today. One is the really ultra budget build that I've made for everyone that is performing rather decently up to the gold rank. And then we have a build that is doing extremely well over in platinum, but that I personally haven't fully completed yet myself, but I'm very close to completing. But I have been messing around with it with some alternative cards in there, and it's doing extremely well. So for the budget build, I will show it on the screen right now. Here we go, like this is the budget build that I've made right now. What all these cards do, I will get into details soon because I want everybody to understand how this deck functions. I will get into that, don't worry. But the main thing, the main takeaway what this deck does is, so when you play one Yosenju, you can normal summon another one, which then lets you normal summon another one, etc, etc. And you can pretty much fill your whole field with all these rank 4 Yosenju creatures that you can then use to XYZ into something like a Utopia double, which then lets you fetch a double or nothing from the deck, which then lets you special summon your Utopia from your extra deck, with which will now have 5,000 attack. This one attacks in, negates its own attack, you play the double or nothing, and then this one becomes a 10,000 attack that allows you to attack in yet another time. Keep in mind you cannot attack in directly, so you do need to have something on the opponent's side of the field, which we have in the form of things like the Gameciel, the Sea Turtle, and Gandala, which we can plunk down on the opponent's side of the field in order to get rid of a problematic effect monster that might stop our game plan. And we will have, we will have a nice low attack monster on their side of the field, so we can get the maximum value with something like this. So a combo into a Utopia plus something like a Kama 2, for example, means you can OTK them on the very first turn. But yeah, this is the super budget build. I know there are still some ultra rares in here, but I think for the most part these are ultra rare cards that you would need to craft normally anyways to play other decks like Tri-Brigade or the Sky Striker deck. So I think it's good to maybe start working your way towards these staples, and then just play this deck with the rares and the commons and stuff like that. And then once you are ready to invest into even more ultra rares, then you can build yourself an actual meta deck. The one I suggest is the Tri-Brigade deck that I covered last week. It's still a very good deck. I've had so much fun playing Tri-Brigade. I got it into the high platinum tiers with it. Sometimes a bit of a bad matchup against the Elder Lich deck, but well, there you go. So the other deck here is the fully optimized build right here. I will also link this one down in the description, and as you can see, this has a lot of ultra rares in here. I don't even have everything myself yet, but I think the main thing that you want to try and craft first is your Utopia package. This one is available in a starter deck, by the way, so it should only cost you 500 gems to get this one, and this is just a secret rare which should be relatively easy to get regardless. And then we have the Zeus, which is just an absolutely amazing piece to have. Personally, I run a small Zoodiac engine because we can easily go into Chakanine and then into our other stuff with this Yosenju, and the really good tech cards that I really like in real life Yu-Gi-Oh! That are probably also very good in Master Duels because we have a very similar meta going on here is Dimension Shifter. This is a go second deck, by the way. If you play this, you always want to go second, but this one lets you discard it and then you banish all the cards that they put in the graveyard. It's very good against Tri-Brigade and also against Sky Strikers in order to set up your OTK in the next turn. And this is just a very good beat stick to special summon to your side of the field if your opponent has more stuff available to them, and then it has a quick effect that says like you can tribute one Dinowrestler, so that includes itself, and then you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. So this is kind of like either a beat stick or some removal Unfortunately, I don't have these two, so I did get janked out sometimes by some Zoodiac and Tri-Brigade and Sky Striker shenanigans that I would maybe otherwise have won. And I don't have a third copy of Nibiru either, which is really such a good card to go second with against the current meta, because there's so much normal and special summoning going on that Nibiru is just very strong. You really need at least 2 copies of back row removal in order to play this deck, because as I said before, this is an OTK build that wants to OTK on the spot with the Utopia package. So having back row removal to get rid of your opponent's traps before you go into your other stuff is just very crucial. We have 2 Call by the Graves to stop things like an effect failure ruining our day, because if they do something like effect failure onto one of our Yosenju, then that's pretty much game over there, because we will lose our entire turn. So the Call by the Grave are very important for that. I guess the cross out, what's the thing called? Let's see, this one would be very good in this deck, but I feel having yet another ultra rare, like I can't even build this deck at the moment, so I went ahead and opted to remove to not play this one for now. I wish we had something like Mystic Mine in the game already, but I guess we will get this with the next update or something. But this is a very good inclusion. If you were to include this, I guess you could cut down 1 Pot of Desires and what else? What else you cut? Probably 1 Etna. No, not Etna. Izna would be good to cut here. And maybe 1 Nibiru. Then you could go and get yourself a playset of Crossout Designator and still be able to do quite well. Because this deck dies hard to hand traps, and that's just the way it is. But let's just jump into some games. I will go through the game slowly, explaining everything that I do and why I do it, so that you can kind of learn and figure out how this particular deck works. I think seeing it in action is just a better way in general. So let's just jump into that, and I will go ahead and explain the deck to you. Alright, here we go into our very first game. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a go second deck, and as you can see, this is a very good hand to start off with, because the Gameciel lets you remove a problematic effect monster card, and then you have your Yosenjus that you can normal summon one of the other. So how it works like this. So as you can see, this says if this card is normal summon, you can immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 Yosenju monster from your hand except Yosenju Kama 2. So Kama 1, 2 and 3, so this one is Kama 2, this is Kama 3, we'll see Kama 1 later on, but basically Kama 1 is another Yosenju that lets you bounce a face-up card from the field back to the hand. When you normal summon one of these, you can then activate its effect to normal summon another one, activate its effect again to normal summon another one. The only monsters that don't have that normal summoning effect is the Tsujin and the Izna in the deck, so if you chain together your Kama 1, 2 and 3s properly, you can pretty much flood the board right off the gate, and then you can XYZ summon into something to either remove the back row with something like a what's it called? A Lightning Chidori. This lets you target one set card your opponent controls, return a target to the bottom of the deck, and then you can even activate it to get rid of a face-up card as well. Chidori is just a very good card in this deck in general, but usually you just want to go for your OTK with the Utopia double into your double or nothing, and then just attack for a massive amount of damage. But let's go, let's hit play and see what will happen right there. So the opponent starts by drawing some cards, they set some back row, which makes it a little bit awkward on our side, but we do have to call by the grave if they do go for some hand trap shenanigans when we try to special summon stuff. But here we go, so we summon the Kama tree. On the summon, it straight away activates the effect that lets you normal summon another card, but then the opponent ends up using a infinite impermanence, kind of negating that summon and not allowing us to finish our chain, which kind of ruins our turn right here, but it's no problem because now at least we have a 1500 creature on the field, so that maybe we can try and do something next turn. We can deal some minor damage here. Like, dealing that 1500 damage is not much, but what this does mean is that when we do get to go into our Utopia package later on, then we can pretty much go for the OTK straight away. The opponent puts a 3000 attack creature on the field and yet another trap, which is a bit on the annoying side, but it's our turn. We drew into a Nibiru, kind of useless right there. We played Yosenju Kama 2. We were able to normal summon the other Yosenju from our hand. Now we go into the Utopia double. The opponent decides to Maxx C, which is perfectly fine. They go for the Ash Blossom, and this is the thing what I mean. Like, if you don't have your Call by the Grave at this point, the Ash Blossom here would have pretty much ruined our turn here. But thanks to the Call by the Grave, we can activate that, get rid of that Ash Blossom's effect so that we can fetch ourselves that double or nothing from the deck. And then once we fetch double or nothing, this one will special summon itself into the other Utopia right away. So we have double or nothing in the hand. This one says when a monster attack is negated, you can target a monster and it can make a second attack. Plus its attack is doubled. And this one, because it lets you fetch something and then straight away special summons a Utopia monster from your deck and doubles its attack, you can get some very nice shenanigans. The issue with this is that that monster will not be able to attack directly, but as long as the opponent has something on the field in attack position, that shouldn't really be a problem anyways. So there we go, we go ahead and special summon our number 39 Utopia, which becomes a 5000 attack creature now because of the combo. And now we are pretty much good to go. So I went ahead and put the Gameciel on the field. I wasn't sure if they have any interaction with this thing, with traps, but I felt having the Gameciel there is probably just the safer thing to do, because they might have less synergies than they have with this thing. I have no idea what this is, this creature, so it just seemed like the right thing to do. This one cannot attack directly, but since they have a creature, like I said, you can attack their creature. Then Utopia has a cool effect that says when a monster declares an attack, including itself, you can detach one material in order to negate that attack. And then because this one says when a monster attack is negated, you can target that monster and it can make an additional attack. You have this very cool interaction that this 5000 creature negates its own attack. You play this to give it another attack and then pushes the 5000 to 10,000. So we play the double or nothing. Now this one gets to do another attack and it attacks in for an absolutely incredible 10,000 damage, completely OTKing the opponent on the spot. And this is the main thing this deck wants to do. There's a lot of little tricks here and there that it also wants to do. I will showcase some of the Yosenju shenanigans in another game in a second, but going for a Utopia double and then into your number 39 Utopia and then OTKing with a 10,000 damage attack is just extremely strong, especially if you have a Kama 2 on the field that can attack the opponent directly for 900 damage. By the way, Kama 2 can attack directly but only for half its attack, so if you attack for 1800 it will deal 900 damage to their life points. So let's just jump into the next game so I can explain more about Yosenju. Alright, and we're back in yet another game, and as you can see is we have a very nice Yosenju package again. Like we have two of the numbered Kamas, which lets you normal summon another one from the hand, so we could potentially go from Kama 2 into Kama 3, and then Kama 3 can go ahead and normal summon the Zoodiac. It's a bit of a shame that the Zoodiac doesn't let you normal summon another card, so you do need to be a little bit aware that if you have either multiple Zoodiac or multiple Iznas in your hand, then you can only have one of those on the field at the end of the chain. But we have a Harpie's Feather Dust and we also have some effect negation, so I feel a hand like this has a lot of good potential to go for an OTK. But let's see what happens, and because when I have play on these videos, I don't really know if this is a deck that I actually went for the OTK or not, because I have played so many games, I just try to grab some random games here and there. So I decide to Infinite Impermanence that thing in order to stop them from doing the Link Summon play like that, and they decide to go for the Salamangreat from the extra deck, and they have two traps. So since this is Tri-Brigade, we kind of know that this could be a Infinite Impermanence. That's something they do run. And they could also have put a Tenki face down, which we also have in our hand right now. But I kind of suspect at this point that they have the Tri-Brigade trap that allows them to special summon a bunch of Tri-Brigades from the Banner Zone and Graveyard in order to get a link from the extra deck onto the field. So the best thing to do is just force them to use that activation right now, so that they cannot really get any beneficial effect from something like a Shurake or something like that. So Harpie's Feather Duster, it is indeed the Tri-Brigade trap, which means that they can either go into the Shurake or the, what's it called, the Rufal or something, the wolf one. Yeah, they do go into the wolf, which lets them special summon something from the graveyard later on as well. And not Rufal, it's Rugal. My bad, I messed up the things. But now we're in a very decent position to OTK. It's a bit annoying with this thing. This can kind of tribute itself, but I kind of thought if we return this thing to the hand here, they might not really tribute this, but I believe this is the game where they end up doing this. Like you could see, we went into Kama 2, and Kama 2 let us summon Kama 1, Kama 1 let us summon Kama 3, and then this one let us summon the Zoodiac, which does not let us normal summon anything else. But now we have all the good effects on the field, so Kama 2 is the one that can attack the opponent directly, but only deals half the damage to their life points. Kama 3, if another Yosenju except Kama 3 deals damage to the opponent, you can fetch a Yosenju card from your deck. In this case, that would be great to grab yourself a second Kama 1 or the Izna from the deck. Kama 1 has a very cool effect that this one, when activated, lets you target one face-up card your opponent controls, and you can return that card to the hand. In this case, you could return the Rugal to the hand, or you could go for something like a Salamangreat. I ended up targeting the Rugal, and that might have been a bit of a mistake, because I could have OTK'd him this very turn if I tried, but I made a bit of a misplay, and so I went for the Kama 1 to try and remove that thing. They sacrificed this, which means that they now no longer have a creature on the field. And that makes it hard, because without a creature on the field, and because the Utopia makes it so that your monsters cannot attack directly, like this one, what does it say? It says its attack becomes double, but it can attack directly. We couldn't go for the 10,000 damage OTK anymore. I should have left that thing on the field. I should not have touched it with the Kama and went with that instead. But we still were able to deal a ton of damage, so we dealt some damage there, which allowed our Kama 3 to fetch a Yosenju from the deck. And then we attack in again, and we attack in again, and then finally we attacked in again for a ton of damage. And this one boosted this one's attack by 1000, by the way, it's one of its effects. So you can target one Yosenju monster on the field against 1000 attack. We got them down all the way down to 700 life. If we had Gagaga Cowboy right here, we could XYZ summon into that thing and remove detaching material to just finish the game like that, but unfortunately I didn't have that card. So normally, under normal circumstances, the game will be over right now, because we would have won already with the Gagaga Cowboy, and that's the power of having your whole lot of your Yosenjus in your hand. If you have 4 of these in the hand and they can all summon each other, then usually you can even go for an OTK with just these creatures, but yeah, let's go. At the end of the turn, they all return back to your hand, which means that during your opponent's turn, you are kind of fragile. Your opponent could very easily OTK you. That's why you kind of want to finish the game in a single turn in a deck like this. But oh well, it is what it is. We didn't have the OTK available to us there, even though normally we would have. That's why some people, they opt to play a lot of trap cards in a deck like this, so they can kind of go the long game. But I've played the trap card build of Yosenju, and it just doesn't work as good as it should in the current meta game, because there's just so much negation and so much destruction going on that it makes like stuff like this. If you have a lot of backrow now, then what are you gonna do, right? Zeus is just gonna destroy everything, which makes it not work well. And we draw something very good because even though they have the Zeus on the field, and this is the thing I was talking about in the deck tag earlier, we can special summon this to their side of the field, which allows us to tribute cards that they control, and they cannot activate their effects in response. So when you put your Gameciel down onto the field, we were able to get rid of that Zeus straight away, no questions asked. And we plunked this thing down, the Zeus is gone, they were not able to activate it, they were not able to do anything. And now we have this thing on the field, which allows us to OTK. We have the 2 Kamas in our hand, which allows us to bounce something from the field back to the hand. They probably have the Tri-Brigade Trap right there, which probably means they will be going into Shrike in order to banish one of our things. But since we have 2 of these, we can summon this one. This cannot normal summon itself, so you summon the Kama 1, go into something like the Kama 2, into the Kama 3, into the Kama 1 again, the other one into the Tsujin, so you have a whole field right there. But do be careful, if you summon 5 things in a row, there is a very small chance that the opponent has a Nibiru in hand, so personally, I like to not take that risk and I just go for 4 summons and call it a day. And since we have something to attack their life points directly, I go ahead and go with that. I go ahead and just go with the Yosenju attack in general. They go for a Maxx C. That's another great thing about this deck. These are all normal summons. Like, even though you keep summoning one after the other, they are all normal summons, so the opponent is not gonna gain any cards from a Maxx C. So if they activate a Maxx C early on, you can even opt to just not go for an XYZ monster in order to avoid them getting any card advantage at all. So we go into Kama 1, we go into Kama 2, into Kama 1 again, into Kama 3, and here's where I stop. I could have gone for Tsujin, but I kind of like having the thing available to draw a card once we deal damage. They go for the Tri-Brigade Revolt, which allows them to go into a Shrike now and allows them to banish one of our Kama 1s, I guess. But, or I guess potentially they could go for the Kama 2 if they really want to stop the OTK here. We put that thing back into a hand, they go ahead and banish something off the field, but we still have another Kama 1 available in order to bounce this thing back to the hand in order to go for the lethal damage that way. They put that one into the banish zone, but we just put that one back into the hand, back into the deck, and then we just attack for damage there. So extremely good deck against Tri-Brigade. Like pretty much every Tri-Brigade matchup I end up against because of the Kama 1 being able to bounce stuff back to the hand, and in this case back to the extra deck. It's very easy to win with this deck. It makes this deck run out of resources rather quickly. It's also quite good against Sky Striker because putting stuff back into the extra deck with Sky Striker is very good, especially if you have that ultra rare that I shown you earlier, the dimensional shifter that forces the opponent to banish stuff whenever you discard that thing from your hand. The Nibiru is not as good against the Sky Striker deck, but against a deck like this that does a lot of special summoning, you can rather easily get your Nibiru onto the field, which is just extremely good. Let's jump into like maybe 2 more games, and then you should probably understand how Yosenju works at this point, and you can go ahead and build this deck and start having some fun yourself. Alright, here we go. Our next game, we get to go second yet again. Like I said, you always want to go second with this deck, and since so many decks want to go first anyways, if they win the dice roll, then usually you will be able to go second regardless, which is really cool. It's really a great way to play a deck like this. So as you can see, we have something to remove the back row removal, we have something to stop the searchers, we have a Tenki in order to fetch ourselves another card from the deck, and we have a Impermanence in order to negate something. So a hand like this can potentially get you the OTK on turn 2, because we can very efficiently remove the whole back row. We can negate something that would otherwise negate our Yosenju stuff, like if they have an Apollousa on the field and you infinite impermanence it at the beginning of your turn, that's pretty much GG to them. But yeah, let's see how this runs out. I cannot really recall what deck this is. I straight away see a bunch of back row. I went for an Ash Blossom there. I kind of misclicked there. I should have saved my Ash Blossom for something else, because now they can just go ahead and activate from the hand again anyways. But misclicks in this game do happen rather frequently, at least they do to me. And the opponent is just going off with all the effects, but they're playing some danger shenanigans. All of this stuff is not really doing all that much yet, but this one is a bit annoying because this one says, while you have no cards in your hand, monsters your opponent controls lose 800 attack. While you have no cards in your hand and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect if in front you control once per turn. This one actually makes it so that our OTK is not good, and we also have a bit of an issue that everything is in defense position here, which makes it a little bit awkward to attack in with our Utopia package, but we end up drawing into a Gameciel, which makes everything just so much better. So we can go ahead, remove the back row, we can then fetch ourselves another Yosenju from the deck. We can then, in this case, we could have used the Gameciel to tribute something to summon it onto the field. Summon our 2 Yosenju, go into our Utopia double, then fetch our double or nothing from the deck, go into the Utopia number 39, and then we could have attacked in for almost lethal. Like they would have been at 200 life, but I think at that point we would have very easily been able to go into a Zeus after that as well and just kept on going like that. So we were pretty much ready to OTK here, or well, almost OTK. We were maybe 1 Yosenju short from really doing the full OTK, but we were very close there. The opponent realized that they would have been in top decking mode, which may have made it very hard for them to make a comeback in general. And yeah, let's just jump into the last game and then I think we can end the video there. Yosenju is just so much fun, like all the synergy between all the Yosenju cards is just absolutely amazing. And we have arrived in our final game, and we have a very funny hand with 3 infinite impermanences. The opponent won the dice roll, they decided to go second, and it's a bit of a problem for a deck like this, but if you have so many traps to push down onto the field, it's not that much of an issue. So at this point, we had 2 Yosenju. This one could have been normal summon in order to normal summon this one from the hand. You could theoretically turn 1 go into a Bagooska, the terribly tired beast. This one, if it's in attack position, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and your opponent cannot target this attack position card with card effects either. And while this card is in defense position, change all face-up monsters on the field to defense position as well, and negate the activated effects of monsters that were in defense position when that effect was activated. So having this one in defense position on the field pretty much makes it so that the opponent cannot activate any effects at all, and they kind of need something like a Raigeki or that Lightning Storm in hand to remove this thing, otherwise they cannot do anything with a defense possession Bagooska on the field. So that's something I could have gone into, but since I only have 2 Yosenju in hand and we have so many traps, I kind of feel comfortable that I will be able to negate whatever effects they have anyways. I mean, look at this, like 3 of these things on the field. They're not gonna be able to activate a single effect during their turn, and this gives us the option that if they do summon a creature on their side of the field, I will be able to go in for the OTK with Utopia. So they put the Future Fusion on the field. During your first standby phase, you can do the whole fusion shenanigans with this card, but because of the Kama one, we can just bounce this thing back to the field and negate them from going off during the standby phase. The opponent decides to just play that and call it a day. No idea why they didn't put some trap cards, maybe they had a bad hand or something. So I go for the Kama one into the Zoodiac, and then I just bounce this thing back to the hand. They don't have an active creature on the board, and I don't have a Gameciel in hand to put the Utopia on the field, so I just attack in for 3600 with the 2 Yosenjus, and then they come back to the hand, ready to fight another day. I really love the whole effect that they come back into your hand, like they are like little cowards that just jump back into the hand to seek shelter, aren't they? So I decided to Ash Blossom this because they didn't do much in the previous turn, so I thought maybe this is the one thing they top decked in order to play anything. They are able to do a little bit more now that they did last turn. They go ahead and special summon both of these, and then they decide to go into a Sky Dragon, which allows them to negate some activations during my turn, but let's just force the hand. Like, I believe I end up drawing into a Gameciel here, so I could potentially just tribute this thing right off the board, but I wanted to have some fun and make them negate some stuff. I shouldn't have done this. Like, I was a bit cocky. I didn't even know what they have left in hand, but I thought I have to call by the grave if they do have a hand trap, so I will probably get the OTK here anyways. So I activated 2 of the trap cards. I go into my Kama 1 into my Zoodiac. I boosted the attack power there for no reason, and I go into my Utopia package, which allows me to fetch my Utopia double or nothing from the deck and go into my number 39. And they are at 4400 life now, which means that 10,000 attack against a 2200 creature is pretty much gonna be an OTK right there. I attack in, negate my own attack. I was going to double or nothing here to push this one to be able to attack a second time and then attack in for 10,000 damage. But yet again, this was a perfect example how you can OTK with this Yosenju deck. I think it's a very solid anti-meta deck. Like, Yosenju has always been my top choice if I want to build anything anti-meta, because they are just very efficient at getting a XYZ from the extra deck onto the field. At least a rank 4 XYZ, and that's partially why they have always been my top pick for building a rogue deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! In general, because no matter how Yu-Gi-Oh! Grows, it seems that they are always able to adapt to the meta and just take use of whatever staples are in the format at that particular point of time. Like, there we go, Vanity's Emptiness. Like, this was a very good card back in the day that makes sure that neither player can special summon monsters. Still very good in a deck like this right now, and you could potentially even consider going for a very heavy trap build and putting stuff like this in here, and like lose 1 turn, this card right here, which says that activate only if you currently control no special summon monsters. Well, since we normal summon everything, that one doesn't really do much to us anyways. And then it says, while a monster is face on the field, negate this effect during that turn that monster was special summoned. If an effect monster is special summoned in attack position, change it to defense position. So lose 1 turn is a very good anti-meta card in a deck like this. Then we have stuff like Drowning Mirror Force. I have a playset of 3 already because originally I started playing these, and this one says like when an opponent declares an attack, you can shove a direct attack, but since we never have creatures on the board anyways with the Yosenju because they go back to the hand, we can return all the monsters back into the deck. So if even their creatures on the field, their regular effect monsters will go back to the deck, their trap monsters will go back to the deck. I think Drowning Mirror Force is just extremely strong in a deck like this. But yeah, I guess this build right there, it's the most optimal right now from what I've seen and what I can guess from the current metagame. Having the double Gagaga Cowboy, like you've seen in one of my earlier gameplay footage, would have pretty much won me the game, but I didn't on the spot because I don't have the card. So I think having at least 1 copy of Gagaga Cowboy is just very good, because if this is summoned in defense position and you remove a material, you can deal 800 damage to the opponent directly. And Dimensional Shifter is just so good against so many decks. If you want to play a more trap focus card, you could probably go for something like Dimensional Fissure as well, which makes it that everything is banished. Then you have a more long-term thing than instead of this one. You could get something like what's it called? The Helix card. No, what's it called again? Instead, it's a trap card. There we go, Macrocosmos, Helios. So this one, you can ignore the first part, but it says, well, this card is faced on the field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. And we also have, I think called Curse of Summoning. It's one of the curse cards, which this one right here, it says if a monster special summon, the current controller of that monster banishes 1 card from the hand. Also extremely good to stop a lot of shenanigans. And you could run stuff like Underdark, Where is it? This one, which says like during your turn, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. During your opponent's turn, negate the effects of all face-up monsters you control. But we don't control face-up monsters because these little weasels go back to the hand. So it's just a one-sided effect negation, which is also extremely strong. I don't think it's particularly good against the current meta, having a trap heavy build like this, but it's something you can brew with and something you can tinker around with, and it's definitely worth trying out if you want to just go after your central game plan itself. But anyways, that's all from me for today. I'm sorry that my voice is a bit weird still from the infection, but I hope you were able to learn how Yosenju works a little bit. Sorry that I didn't do the heavy editing like I did with the Tri-Brigade deck. I will do the heavy editing for my Sky Striker deck again, but I feel this deck is so niche and it's so straightforward. You summon a Yosenju, it lets you summon another Yosenju, it lets you summon another Yosenju, and you get a bunch of effects from these that I don't really feel it needed all that much of explanation, to be honest, but a really fun deck. And yeah, if you want me to do more gameplay of this particular deck, feel free to let me know. Once I'm done with all my deck tech videos, I'll probably start posting some gameplay footage on the channel. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss it. And I really want to become a Yu-Gi-Oh content creator, so I could really use all the support I can get from all you people out there. So feel free to let me know down below what kind of decks you want me to cover next, and I will have a look into that soon as well then. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care.